That irritates you, doesn't it? You don't think you do owe anyone an apology, do you?
Things absolutely exploded in the British media today. Journalist Beth Rigby took NO prisoners and went straight for Prime Minister Keir Starmer live, on air, over one of the most sensitive and shocking issues in Britain right now, the grooming gangs scandal.
So does this irritate you?
I then called for mandatory
Does it irritate you that people are accusing you of not dealing with the situation?
Starmer tried the usual political waffle, but not this time.
But no one in institutions have lost their jobs. Counsellors, social workers, policemen, civil servants, people that were meant to protect these vulnerable young women, these girls, they have not been prosecuted.
What you're about to see is genuinely unbelievable. After years of ignored warnings, victims being silenced and swept under the rug, why has he suddenly agreed to launch a national inquiry? Is it pressure, damage control, or
needs to go wherever the evidence
and I'm going to come on to that. I want to come on to that.
Is there something far, far worse behind this? And don't be fooled, this isn't just about the past. If you think you've heard it all, you've got no idea what's coming next. Smash that like button, subscribe, drop a comment, and share.
He said to me yesterday that something will happen on the Middle East. He's convening the Situation Room. He's told 10 million residents of Tehran to evacuate the city. That's not de-escalation. It sounds like an American attack could be imminent. Do you know what's going on?
Well, I don't think you should read into that an American attack is imminent.
He's calling the Security Council together.
We had a 2-hour discussion with the President last night on the Middle East, on this very issue. And
so you're not worried about escalation?
I'm clear that we need to de-escalate.
But are you worried about escalation?
Of course I'm worried about escalation, which is why my focus is on de-escalation. I'm worried about escalation in the region and the impact it would have in the region. I'm worried about the impact it would also have on Gaza. And I'm very pleased that the focus now is also on a ceasefire in Gaza, which I want to press for in coming days as well, but also the impact it's having on our economy.
On our economy. Prime Minister, as a former prosecutor, you brought first prosecutions for child rapists 15 years ago. I just want to put that on record, your record. But your decision now to hold an inquiry into grooming gangs after refusing 6 months ago to do so has sparked anger. Keir Badenoch says you owe victims an apology. That irritates you, doesn't it? You don't think you do owe anyone an apology, do you?
Well, my frustration is on those that don't focus on the victims. I won't go over the last 15 years, but I brought the first prosecution 15 years ago in relation to these grooming cases. I then changed all the guidelines in criminal justice.
So does this irritate you?
I then called for mandatory
Does it irritate you that people are accusing you of not dealing with the situation?
I try to remain courteous at all times. But when politicians who were themselves in power, such as Keir Badenoch, and did absolutely nothing, when people like me were calling for mandatory reporting, but that fell on deaf ears. So I stand on my record, the people who did absolutely nothing when they had the opportunity. But I do on the national inquiry because it is important. That needs to go wherever the evidence.
And I'm going to come on to that. I want to come on to that. But before I do, I just need to do this with you. You accuse politicians like Badenoch of jumping on a bandwagon for the far right. Was that misjudged to put it in those terms? Do you wish you hadn't said that now?
I was really clear that I was talking about politicians.
I know, I just said that.
Yeah, and I do think that those politicians need to answer the question, which is why, when you were in power and had the opportunity to do something,
but do you wish you hadn't conflated it with right-wing bandwagon, because that's not what people's concerns about grooming gangs weren't necessarily right-wing. Do you sort of wish you hadn't said it?
I don't. I've never implied that other people with genuine concerns, and certainly not victims. I've been working with victims. I've seen firsthand.
Okay. Those calling for an inquiry had a point, though, didn't they? Because Casey's findings are stark. Disproportionate numbers of Asian men responsible for child sex grooming gangs, but her words, do-gooders, were trying to cover stuff up for fear of being branded racist. Do you recognise that? And who are the do-gooders?
Well, I absolutely recognise what Louise Casey wrote in her report. I've read every word of it. It's why I've decided there needs to be a national inquiry. But also, because of those words, I'm clear that inquiry must go wherever the evidence is.
Who are the do-gooders?
Well, I mean, that's Louise Casey's word. She will answer that for you. I can tell you in terms because I had 7,000 staff when I was chief prosecutor. I was very clear that ethnicity should not play a part in any of the decisions that we took. I can't answer for other people, but I do recognise that
But you
if we're
think
going
some
to have a
people
national inquiry...
didn't behave like you did?
Well, look, that's the concern, and we need to be open about that.
And that was your experience
That's-
when you were prosecuting
Well, my
people?
experience was slightly different because the
Okay.
case there was assumptions were being made about
Okay.
the reliability of some of these witnesses, which were completely wrong, which is why I changed the system.
No stone unturned, and this is where you have led me, because I really want to ask you this. Perpetrators have been prosecuted by you, but no one in institutions have lost their jobs. Counsellors, social workers, policemen, civil servants,
Yeah.
people that were meant to protect these vulnerable young women, these girls, they have not been prosecuted. It cannot sit easily with you. Do you want prosecutions to flow from it? Would that help with public trust?
Where the inquiry uncovers failure or wrongdoing, then there absolutely should be accountability, and that is amongst the purposes of an inquiry. And it's a statutory inquiry, as you know, which will therefore mean there's power to compel evidence and witnesses, because it's important that it is comprehensive, it's important that it gets to every single issue, and as part of that process there's accountability for individuals who did wrong.
Okay, PM, I'm out of time, but you're about to be Prime Minister for 1 year. So very quickly, one-word answers. Can you tell viewers the things the one thing you're most proud of and your biggest mistake?
Well, amongst the things I could do a whole list, but I'm really proud that a year ago probably I was interviewed by you and I said we'd do 2 million extra appointments in the NHS in the first year of a Labour government. We've now done 3 million and waiting lists are coming down. There's a whole list of other things that I could probably go on about for a very, very long time. In terms of mistakes, look, I think that we haven't always told our story as well as we should, explained our decisions in the way that might in retrospect have been better, but that's the nature of politics. I suppose the story at the end of the first year is this. We had to clear up the mess, and the first year was really about that. But as we now turn into the second year with the spending review, now's the time we can show that having cleared up that mess, taken those tough but necessary decisions, now you can see in the spending review with the investment we're making in our public services, in our infrastructure, in our jobs, apprentices, you name it, you can see the difference that a Labour government made.
Okay, Prime Minister, thank you so much for your time. Appreciate it. Thank you.
So, after everything you've just seen, do the British public deserve straight answers or just more pathetic excuses? Let me know in the comments. Hit like, subscribe, and share it around.